In this part, we're going to talk about HTML elements and usage of them. Don't worry to forget them. I've created a full list of HTML elements that you might need, and I'll put the link of this file into the description. First thing I want to talk about is comment. Comment basically is a note for ourselves or other developers to know what we are doing, what we are coding. It will not show on the browser. We use the signs to add comments in HTML, and in VS Code we have this shortcut of Ctrl and slash that you can press, and it will bring comment layout for you automatically. Now if I write the text here and save the file, you'll see when I refresh the page I don't see anything because the text is inside this comment. It's a comment, it's not going to be rendered. But if I make this simple and refresh the page, you see that we have text here. When we want to code HTML, we should use this layout code. In VS Code, if you put this exclamation mark and press enter, you have this automatically. First thing you see in this code is this tag doctype HTML. This is basically defines the document type that the computer knows it's HTML. Then we have this HTML tag that defines the root of an HTML document, and we have this head part. And inside it we have this metatags. Metatags are basically data about document that we are going to code. And this is the title that this title is going to show here on the browser on your tab. This head part basically contains metadata and information of the document, and these are not going to render or shown in the browser, but we need these to run our, for example, CSS files, JavaScript files, and others. And after that you see body tag. Body tag is where we are going to write our code. Here is where when you write something, it's going to render on your browser. Here is the main part and body of your document. For example, let's make this title HTML elements. And if I save this and refresh the page, you see now we have this HTML elements text on the tab. Now let's talk about other elements. If we want to add heading to our web page, we are going to use h1 to h6 tags. And the difference between them is the size of them. Here is the example of headings that if we run this, we see here h1 is the biggest, then we have h2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. If we want to add paragraph to our web page, we are going to use this p tag and we write our paragraph right here. And we save this and you see this paragraph here. Now, if I want to have some space before paragraph here, if I put some spaces and save them and refresh them, you'll see that nothing happened. This is because of this p tag. P tag automatically removes the spaces before and after the text itself. You can have spaces here. For example, if I save this, you see we have space here. But if we have in first of the paragraph or in the end, you'll see that we don't get them. To solve this problem, we can use some other tag called pre. This makes the text exactly how you enter and shows that into the browser. For example, now if I make some spaces, write something here and another spaces here, and if I save this and reload the web page, you'll see that we get exactly what we have wrote right here. If we need placeholder of text in our web page, we can use lorem. Here, if I write lorem, you see that we get some random text that is here, and we can use this as example and placeholder in some places. Now let's fill this paragraph with lorem. If I write lorem here and after that I write the number of words that I want, it brings exactly that number of words into our paragraph. For example, let's say 35 here. If I enter, and refresh the page, you'll see that here it's make us 35 words. If we want to add link to our web page, we are going to use anchor tag. Here we can write anything that we want to show in our browser. And here you see this href is basically attribute. What you need to know is they are something like settings or controls for the element, and they tell element what it should do. In this case, we have created link. We have that here. And if I click on that, you'll see that nothing has happened because we have not set to our code to HTML what we want to do with it. And here we need attributes. Here in href attribute, we are going to tell where we want our link to point to. For example, let's say that we want to go to google.com when we click on this link. Here in href, we are going to write address of the Google. Now, if we click on this link, you'll see that we go to google.com. If we have multiple links here, we see that all of them are in a single line. And if we want each of them in a single line, we are going to use this tag called br. br is a single line break, and now if I refresh the page, you'll see that we have br here and it breaks from here and make the rest of the document one line below this one. But in some case, we want to divide two parts of the documents. In those cases, we are going to use hr tag, and if I refresh the page, you'll see that this straight line that divides the document into sections. Now let's add button to our web page. To do that, we are going to use button tag, and here we are going to write whatever we want to show inside our button. For example, here I am going to write click me. Okay, now if I refresh the page, you'll see this button. Now let's add image. To do that, first thing we need to have this image inside our folder. Now we need img tag to render that image into our web page. But you see, this img tag don't have any closing tag. In HTML, we have some tags that they don't need a closing tag. Here we have two attributes, src for source, and alt is basically a little description about the image. In VS Code, if you want to write your source easily, you just need to hold Ctrl and press space. Now you'll see our file and folders, and if you click on this image, you get the location of that right here. And for the description, I just say see here. And now if I refresh the page, that you see we have our image right here. Another attribute in image that you can use is height attribute. Here we can give height that the image show in that size. For example, here I say 100 pixels. And if I refresh the page, that you see our picture is resized. Okay, now let's say we want a list in our web page. Here, first, I wanna divide this. I told you how to do that. We just simply write HR. Here we going to have another line, and here we are going to write our list. We have two types of lists here, unordered and ordered lists. We are going to start with unordered lists. For that, we are going to use UL for defining our unordered list. And inside this UL, we are going to use LI to add our items. For example, here we have item 1. Let's make some items here. Item 2, 3, and 4. Now, if I refresh the page, you'll see that we have our unordered list here with 4 items. Now let's use ordered list. We use the same syntax, but instead of UL, we write OL. And here we have list item. Here we say item 1, item 2, 3, and 4. And we refresh the page, and here you see our ordered list. As I told you, HTML is the structure of the website. Sometimes we want to make some sections on it and design them. We are going to use this tag later in the CSS very much, and that is called div. In div, we divide HTML into some sections. Now let's say in our website we want some information from our user. To do that, we use input. Here, if you write input, you see some examples of inputs here that we are going to cover there. First one, we have text type. If I refresh the page, you see this box comes here that we write whatever we want, and later we are going to use form to get this from front end and save in our server. Next input type we are going to talk about is this number. Here, if we refresh, we see here we can't have any text here, but we can write numbers on it only. And we have this thing here that adds 1 and decreases 1 if I tap on it. Other input type that we are going to use again is password. Here is this box. Let me have this. Okay, here it's just like text, but when you type on it, you can't see what you are typing. You see in many websites that in password part they use this input type in their sign up or sign in forms. Then let's set break here, and we have input type of checkbox. Here we have this simple checkbox here that can return us our Boolean variable that we are going to cover these and all type of variables and programming in other languages later. Then we have our color input that if we have here, we can click on that and select any color that we want in RGB. And here we have input with the type of date. If I refresh the page, you see here, if I click here, we can select any date that we want. And after that, we have these other inputs, something like files that we can select file from our computer. We have email and bunch of others, image, number, we have covered that, and something like this. Now in the last, let's talk about iframe. In iframe, you basically, now let's divide this again, and the next topic I want to talk about with you is iframe. What iframe is the option that we can use to show other websites inside our website. For example, here I use as a source, I use my personal web page to show you this iframe. If I refresh the page, here you can see what we have here is our web page. Please give a like and subscribe to catch next videos.